USA, CCI USA. The last day was live action.
So this is a couple here, where one person is really trying to clarify, share, but it's not a session, it's just some time in between workshops.
I should publish it myself. I did. But the difficult thing is that I have still hundreds of good books at home.
Daarnaast eigenlijk de elde.
Ja, dat is goed.
So in about 10 minutes we will start the afternoon sessions. Okay, so here we are again. Actually, this is the large room. I can take bits and pieces of it because there is nobody, so there is no confidentiality broken, which is a core aspect of CCI, isn't it?
Yes.
But this is the large room where we have been spending our 5th day with 75 people. Some sitting on chairs, some lying on mattresses, some trying to fly or just play with the gadgets over there. And here is Gail.
Hello.
Who is from the States.
Yes.
It's wonderful that every year, since 74, if I know, but you might help me, in the States they have been organizing CCIs in April, and in Europe every summer. And it's always wonderful that there is an exchange between the two continents.
Yes.
And we have another continent who entered New Zealand every 3rd year,
Yes.
they say. And we had Israel as kind of a tip of another continent.
Yes.
So these are the places where we have, and it's kind of, in Europe it wanders from one country to another.
5 countries.
5 countries. And since, I'm happy to say to you, Gail,
Yes.
1989, in Hungary as well, every
Yes.
5th year.
Yes.
So anyway, what's your passion around co-counseling? Because if I may say it, I put it in very different words now. You are not somebody who is an alternative person in society of wanting to be an anarchist of society, wanting to go against the society. You have an established family, established job, well acknowledged, really appreciated. What is it that still makes it important for you for a long time to work with co-counseling for yourself and offer it for others?
Co-counseling, I guess, not to be dramatic, but saved my life. I've been in it 36 years. It's my family. I consider many of the co-counselors, my brothers and sisters, really close to my heart. And I keep meeting new ones. And it's wonderful to be with co-counselors. They're accepting,
Right.
supportive, not judgmental. We have confidentiality, and I trust them. I value their opinions. The process of co-counseling is extremely valuable for myself and for other people. And one of the reasons I'm a teacher is because somebody shared it with me, and I want to share it with others, so that they also have that for themselves, to have the kind of life they want, have the kind of goals that they want to accomplish, to identify patterns, interrupt them, create healthy patterns. It's just a wonderful methodology. I don't know, I hate to use that word methodology, but it's a wonderful vehicle for people to get in touch with who they are, become self-responsible more and more, to learn how to make decisions for themselves that are good.
When you started co-counseling, had you done anything else before which would give some of this kind of, or lead you into this kind of direction of life quality you just described?
I had been in marriage counseling in 1971, and then I stayed on in individual counseling for a year with the same counselor to find out who I was, why I had stayed in this difficult relationship. And I was in undergraduate, and I started graduate school to be a social worker. And I wanted to do something experiential for a weekend. And one of my co-students at the university said, come with me to a weekend up by Boston, Massachusetts.
So it's great. So you actually went through something for a year in a one-way counseling.
Correct.
Right. And then you came into or bumped into co-counseling with this invitation. And as we know, is a two-way process.
Right.
So you can have a great experience of comparing the two.
Yes.
Does one exclude the other, or do you see complementarity, or how does it go in your experience?
I think they're both valuable. And in my class, when somebody says they're in therapy, I tell them they have to tell their therapist about being in the class to see if the therapist is okay with it or not, because I don't want to disrupt what's happening in the one-on-one. And I've also talked to therapists to explain co-counseling, because a lot of them don't know and they're not familiar with it. But I certainly think they can work together. The basic premise for anybody in co-counseling is that they can be present for the other person, that they can give aware, caring attention, that they can keep confidentiality, and those are really some of the main things that if they can do, then most likely they can take the fundamentals and be a co-counselor.
You know, with co-counseling, I am nowadays amazed that there are in seeded forms bits and pieces, like from 30 years ago, which are now in big movement, like appreciation, the whole movement of appreciative inquiry, and I would say that this is inherent in the validation process and this positive regard to everyone. And it was like 30, 35 years ago. Or the aware attention, which you mentioned, which sometimes in Europe they call free attention, but it's so much in harmony with mindfulness, which is an amazing movement now. So I am sometimes really at awe, of how much could have been encapsulated in the co-counseling, which is kind of blooming now in different ways. Do you have the same experience?
Yeah, I do. And they had a documentary on in the United States of soldiers with post-traumatic syndrome. And they didn't know how to help them. And they're trying something new, experiential. And what it was having the person go back to the traumatic situation and talk about it in detail about what happened. Because what had been going on was no talk. Don't discuss it, just move on. And they had these men, it was men that I saw in I don't know whether it was a 4 or 6 week facility, and they were doing this. And not all of them, but a lot of them were so much better, were able to move on with their lives because they were discharging the upset, the feelings, the anger, the scared, the sad, and this is all new.
That's right. And as you say, that's right. You said the narrative and to talk about it in details. And we all know that in the first weekend class, we learn about literary description, be in the present, talk in the present tense, and really describe the situation as vividly as possible.
And discharge.
And then if it comes, discharge. Or we might help you in that emotional suppression to be let loose.
And a lot of depression comes from repressed feelings, anger, scared, whatever, because they don't want to feel them, and so they're repressed, and so they walk around in this gloom of depression and don't know how to get out of it.
And the reason why what I'm trying to bring in is, etc., that the feelings come and manifest in the body. And here there are two men just exercising dance steps. And dance has become so important in the CCI gatherings, co-counseling international gatherings, probably because we are allowing ourselves to find a relationship with our body with the help of discharge.
Right.
So when in the evening people in their 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s jump up and start dancing together, that's kind of a result of what you are describing now.
Right. And the freedom of the body to move.
Absolutely.
And do things.
I'm sure that they don't mind it, so I take a bit of that. Well, for example, there is Alan from the UK. He has been passionate dancer and dance teacher for 20 so, and every night he offers this for that element. Somebody also talked about the offering. I think is very important.
Yes.
Nowadays we talk a lot about self-organizing. That's the thing, of living systems science comes up with. Self-organizing, self-sustaining, self-transcending. I think CCI is a wonderful example of that. For 40 years, self-organizing, non-institutionalized, non-taken by any helping profession, you know, like this is mine and I'm going to issue certificates to certain people. And it's a global network without any centralization. I always say to everywhere, this is, I think, to me, the most amazing thing about that.
Yes, it is, and that we sit down and, like we did yesterday, and which country's going to be having CCI next, and what's happening here, and it was just easily handled, and new countries come along, and like Germany, like New Zealand, and we just fit them all in. I mean, everybody's welcome.
Let's not paint it so pink, because I know that it's, you know, that we are into conflict, so we don't want to wash it away.
No?
I know, as you say, new countries come in. When the German CCI came in, they needed some harmonization, especially with the Israeli community, which has been developing its own approach for a long time, and how to integrate that. Or somebody from the CCI develops his own attitude, like Jan Peter in Scotland, and that needed some merging process here as well.
Right.
But I think you said again, the caring and aware attention, or aware and caring attention, I think the care is very important here.
And you're absolutely correct. There was problems initially with Israel coming on, and I want to give us all credit that it was worked through, and that we all come from a core of loving, caring human beings.
Absolutely.
And acceptance and respect. And yes, it was talked about, and it was bumpy, and we all got through it, and we worked through it, and now everything is accepted, and we're moving on. And we probably will have some more bumps in the road.
And in just the same one community, there can be people from Israel who do their Israeli work, and there can be people Israel who do Israel and Palestine work, and there are people in our community who have been going to Gaza for years and years, and in this CCI, they all have the same place and possibility, and I think that's amazing.
It is. It is amazing.
Yeah. So with co-counseling, we always talk about the fact that it's not only for personal growth, but it's a social healing, I call it nowadays, or social development. And I think that's where our challenge is now as a community, how to take a more conscious step into that kind of large-scale healing, if one can say. And a lot of us are really putting energy and thought and experiment into that.
Yeah, and it is, number one, personal growth, number one. But right next to that is the community aspect and supporting each other and being a community. And I just wish the world was like, I'm going to say not all, because we do have dissension, but the majority of co-counselors are wonderful and accepting and respectful, and we listen to each other. We learn, one of the skills we learn is listening.
Absolutely. Deep listening, yeah.
And so we listen. And I think that's a wonderful skill to have for people. And in my classes, I talk about that a lot. To not only to listen, but to learn that to be listened to. That somebody can be quiet and listen to you without interrupting you and taking your voice away, and it's a wonderful.
Somebody with the validation was mentioning to be seen with the validations, and I think that's exactly the same with the listening, to be listened to. Yes. And I remember it wasn't a co-counseling thing, but years ago in a dialogue group, somebody said, the danger in being listened to